I will fire up in a minute. I've had a really long week, and I've honestly been. I try not to train every day of the week, and it's end of financial year, and they've had me training every week, and I'm sick of my own voice. I'm fed up of being social, and I'm knackered, and I just want to go
Don't buy
that social.
Okay? Oh no, yeah, well, I have to because I know you, and it's
Why
like.
don't you tell me then I'm charging them all?
Because that's what I do. I'm like, yeah, but you carried on talking. I didn't have to engage with you. I was just going. Go on, what you saying? So.
She never used to, but she's very good at it.
Getting really confident now.
She is.
Yeah.
The idea with this is it's a talk I've done a few times. I did it at Sassy and wherever. It's kind of a collection of ideas that I've come across, and I'll explain. It's almost like within the presentation, it'll explain why I've got to this point. And it's really funny. I was having a conversation with my wife this morning, and it was kind of following this same pattern. So a few years ago, I got obsessed with. I get obsessed with things, and one of my many obsessions, this one at this point, was running. And you see, I'm smiling because I'm going, yes, I know, I'm tick, 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 tick. And when I get obsessed with things, I have to be the best at it. Hey?
Have you met Jen?
Oh yeah, she's into her running, but I'm not anymore. See, that's when it gets. You'll suddenly go, yeah. So I really got into it, and then I was reading all these books because you got to read the books. You got to get the right equipment with the right watch and the right heart monitor, and so I was doing all that. And so, I mean, the first book was like Born to Run, and I read it, and in it tells a wonderful story of an American going to this Mexican tribe, and basically they all run barefoot, and it was basically the premise that man is not built to wear shoes, and we should run barefoot. Bang, 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 bang. You can buy special trainers that are pretty much a piece of rubber. Bought a pair because you have to. Nearly ended up in A&E because we are born to run, but what they don't tell you is after 40 years of wearing trainers, you have to wear trainers because your feet are just decomposed. So I read that, Eat and Run, read that, brilliant book by a Japanese runner, this one here. And then just kept reading all these books, and then I just found that none of them helped me. They were saying, do this, do that, and then do this, and every time I was following these books, it wasn't working for me, and then I was getting really confused. And it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because doesn't that sound like all these autism books we read? Yeah? This is the solution. No, this one is the solution. If you do this, and you just keep buying all these books, don't you? Then I came across a guy called Dean Karnazes, who, this guy, he's amazing. I mean, he's a nutter. I mean, he like runs for 24 hours. He has his phone with him and he orders pizza. And he runs and eats pizza. And if you've ever run, and try and eat at the same time, it's pretty much impossible. But there was a quote in the book, and I loved it, and he was talking about running. But I went, this so fits to everything I've ever come across in my life. And it was this: listen to everyone, follow no one. We're all different and unique, so experiment and find what works best. And that's the same with our kids. There is not one solution, but people peddle a solution. So if I give you an example, sorry, I'm chuckling because my friends are autistic as well, and my friend Aaron talks about this quite a lot. You know, so social stories are very popular, aren't they? Yeah, they are not the solution for everyone who's autistic, but they market it like it is. So if your kid throws the social story in your face, does that mean they're not autistic? Yeah, and that's your problem. That if you, yes, it works for a lot of people, but not for everybody. So you've got to experiment. But, like I say, I always say that the problem with half of this stuff is, it's almost like Oprah Winfrey, isn't it? Oprah Winfrey's like really, really powerful, and everybody believes what she says. So when Carol Gray speaks, everybody believes what she says. And don't get me wrong, she's really incredible. But you have to experiment. That's the key thing, and that's what your journey is with your child. You experiment and find what works, and it could be something really bizarre, and that's kind of the whole purpose. And the idea with this is, this talk is about the things that I've found, you know what, universally I think are important. So for me, I suppose maybe I'm giving you the foundation. The first one is acceptance, and that obviously, it depends where you are on your journey. If you're right at the start, you're not going to accept it. We've all done it, haven't we? No, he'll be fine, he'll catch up. And this is from my friends on the spectrum. In fact, if we could just do one word thing about autism, and that is acceptance. Stop trying to make them like us. That's okay. And a lot of that is to do with brain difference. So they see the world differently. Yeah. So our kids see the world differently. So how do we know what makes them happy? What does? We don't. If you're an NT, neurotypical, you don't. But that's really hard because you think because you're their parent, you do. And then so there's conflict. And Alice Rowe, I'm sure you've come across Alice Rowe, the girl with the curly hair. And she said this: the most helpful thing my neurotypical loved ones can do for me is accept my preferred way of living is not going to be the same as theirs. My long-term happiness is going to come from different things. Until you get this, you will have a clash of personalities. Okay? And that's, it's so important to get that. You know, and there's this constant clash all the time. Like I say, in terms of residential services, you get this clash. So in residential settings, you're governed by CQC, or CQC is learning disabilities led, so they actually are not that clued up on autism. So you get this constant, same within schools as well. Schools are built, and we'll come back to them, you know, for a certain group of people. And if some of you are having problems in school, it's because they're not, your kids aren't fitting into that model. And my friend Darren, my good friend Darren, he is amazing. He said, listen to individuals with autism. I mean, I think that's really, really key. He said, if you want to drive a racing car, who do you listen to? Do you listen to the guys in the stands or the people that drive the racing cars? More and more now, and some of you were saying to me earlier, obviously you go out and listen to lectures with people on the spectrum. It's really, really important that you do that. So you see how they see the world. You shouldn't listen to a neurotypical person talking about, I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? A lot of provisions are set up in the best interest of autistic people by neurotypical people, which is almost, you know, so how do they know what's in their best interest? Now, they might be well clued up. I mean, like I say, I always say that I'm in the pit crew, although by the end of it you might say, are you sure you're not driving the racing car? I just think I've been in this job that long, it just makes total sense to me. That's how I see it. And I'll talk about my journey a little bit. Yeah, and come on, how many times you hear this line, when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Right, so this is it's almost controversial, but it kind of isn't, it makes perfect sense. Right, so when somebody with autism speaks about their life, they're speaking about their life, they're not speaking about your child's life. Now, let's suppose I'm neurotypical, and I say, well, all neurotypical people cannot stand the Olympic Games. Right, it's a total waste of time sport. Right, why do we hail these people as heroes when all they do is run around a track? It's the most useless thing in society. Right, so, do any of you love sport? So, does that mean, so you see, I'm not the spokesman for neurotypical people. So there's someone else that's a little bit different. So what I'm trying to say with that is, if you read Temple Grandin's latest book, now I have great respect for Temple Grandin. Do not hang on her every word though. Because in her latest book, she said, video games, they are the Antichrist. Yeah?
They're saviours.
Marja Toodle, this is a brilliant book. Now Marja, in her book, video games, saviours. Right. I do find that really funny, because think of Temple Grandin's in the 70s, right? Marge's in her 20s. Having somebody in their 70s comment about video games goes back to when we were growing up and your grandma told you if you play Black Sabbath backwards you can hear the devil. Do you see what I'm saying? It's stupid. If there's an age, you know, people do develop, but she's at the age when it was a different generation. So, I mean, I love video games, so I have no problem with them. And that's it, you do get these clashes. So, listen to a lot of people. And then all you do is you take their ideas and then you test them with your child and you try and find the right route. That's how you do it. I was joking this morning because my wife and I, we've got 2 golden retrievers. And we're trying to train them. But it's just really fun. Yeah, oh yeah, well that's where we're so we're going to this class and then everyone at her work is giving her opinions. And you know, you get some real brutal people out there, you know, they're kind of snapping the lead kind of brigade, yeah. And well, my wife wants these instant, well-behaved dogs. She doesn't get, although we have this discussion about, no, you need to put the work in. You know, it's no, if you want to learn to run, you don't just buy a pair of running shoes, do you? You got to run every day. Okay. And then so she wants to buy in this expert. Okay. For a lot of money, so these dogs, you know, one session are a bit, it's not going to happen. I'm going, can you just save your money? Yeah, but I need this. And I'm going, and I was trying to relate it to with autism. Yeah, but that's autistic people, that's not dogs. I said, no, the premise is exactly the same. Animals, we're animals. But we just end up with that clash. But there's all, and she said, it was really funny, I'm going, is this art imitating life or something? She said, yeah, but there's so much information out there, what do you follow? And I'm going, oh my God. I just said I'm going to these people to do a talk about the same thing. It was really funny. Bo Alvin, big fan of him. If you link with me, you've probably seen me ranting about him. I love this guy. Have you read his books yet, any of you? The new one about parenting, it's ace. It's called, I think it's called Spoilt Rotten Rude, or Spoilt Rowdy Rude, something like that. Yeah, yellow cover. Absolutely amazing. If you go to Autism West Midlands website, YouTube channel, he does a 40-minute lecture that I actually think is probably the best lecture I've ever seen on behaviour. I do talk about him and some of his work because there are just certain people I meet and I go, wow, I love his thought process. And his previous book was, I think, No Biting, No Kicking, No Screaming. But the more condensed one, it's phenomenal.
30 Rowdy Rude or something like that.
That's it, Sulky Rowdy Rude, yeah. I mean, what he's done, there's a parent book called Frightened, Disturbed and Dangerous, but this is about residential settings, but it's almost like a very similar book. There is a brilliant chapter in both books around punishment, and every time I've lent this book out, families go, yeah, we had a disagreement the weekend about this. Because, especially if you've got a partner that loves dishing out punishment, because we all think punishment's going to shape them. Yeah.
The name of the book, the last one.
This one's called Frightened, Disturbed and Dangerous, but it's more for, it says psychiatric settings, but it's to do with residential settings in this country.
And the one before?
The other one is, I think, Sulky Rowdy Rude, but if you go on Amazon and put Bo Alvin in, you'll link up to his books. And he says this, and I love this, because this is, you know, when you meet people and your ideas kind of all click from all these different viewpoints. And he just said, I'm very interested in tools. No matter what we do, we need to find the right tool. If we have the right tool, we can do anything. And that's what we've got to do with our children. You've got to find the tools that work for your child. Okay? It's as simple as that. There isn't one approach. So if I give you a few examples. So, take my car in for a service, pick it up the next day, and they say it's £200. So I'm about to pay them, and then they hand me a tin of oil, and they say, we couldn't get the bolt off the bottom of the car, the stump. Right, okay. Yeah, it was resistant, it lacked motivation. Okay. Right, is the mechanic's job to get the bolt off the bottom of the car? So, in theory, should I pay them less because they couldn't do their job? Right. Do you ever hear this about your children? Do your children lack motivation in school? Yeah. I don't know if you know this. Do you know there's no law that says your children have to be motivated? Oh, this also includes you guys, by the way. Your children, I know this is hard to believe, they do not have to do what you say. The problem is you've been conditioned all your life to conform and follow. And you've already worked out, that's why, you know, some of your kids are defined as having challenging behaviour. You go, do this, and they go, I don't think so. Okay.
Please before this.
Yeah, still won't do it. But that's the thing, we were you know, and then come on, how many times? Well, I couldn't talk to my mother like that. Well, I can, and I'm off. Okay, so you get that, don't you?
Have you been to my house?
You never said I was going to be heckled throughout. I'm all right. But no, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it?
Can I just say about the bolt? I would get the bolt off the sump and give them the bill.
Tick. I know you would. I know, but that's it. But you wouldn't pay them, would you? Because wouldn't you say your job is to do that? So actually, sorry, I'm not anti-teachers, by the way. I'm anti-lazy teachers. Because in my head, I know this might sound a bit misguided, right? If you're a teacher, you better inspire me to want to learn a subject. If I don't want to learn in your class, it's because you're rubbish, that's why. Yeah, you know, the one that, and this is any job this is, by the way. There are people that hate their job. I bet there are people in this school that hate kids. Why the hell are you in this job? And then they'll defend that I must be good because I've been in the job 20 years. Length of service is not a sign of quality. It might mean that you just can't be bothered to find another job and the salary's really cool.
They can't be bothered to
do it.
Yeah. Because it's too hard.
Because that's something, again, my friend and I talk about, because we have this joke that people defend themselves by starting with the amount of time they've been in the job. They'll go, I've been a clinical psychologist for 25 years. And I'm going, yeah, don't mean you're any good. I've met people that have been a clinical psychologist for 5 years and they're far more inspirational than you are.
Because they're up to date.
Because they're up to, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, I've been a teacher 20 years, yeah, you teach like they did 20 years ago. Whereas somebody else, I was watching, anybody watch the TV show Teachers, do you remember that? Yeah. And you were about Now TV, yeah? Well, I got that, and Teachers is on it, and I watched the first one last night, and I went, oh my God, if he was my teacher, I'd have learned everything. But you always remember the good teachers, don't you? But you remember the bad ones? You went, idiot. Now, because you've got good skills, social skills, you went, idiot, and just doodled and spoke to your mate. Our kids go, idiot, I'm going to go do something interesting. And they walk out of the classroom, and then they're defiant, and then they're rude, and yeah. Which is interesting, isn't it? Because, funny enough, if I was upsetting you in this course, you can get up and just leave. Which is funny, that, isn't it? Which is interesting. You have control. Your kids don't have control. They have to listen to rubbish and have no control. Whereas you might go, no, I don't know what he's saying, and walk out. And I can't go, you must get back. Yeah, you need, and that, imagine that. No, you need to listen to what I'm saying and you need to learn. But the minute you've made your mind up to leave, you're not learning anything, are you? It's one of those bizarre things. Then what happens is things like, it's quite an interesting point. So they give you a child detention, don't they? I work with kids that have had 100 detentions for the same mistake, yeah? If your child has 100 detentions and they still haven't learned, it's not the child, it's a slow learner, yeah? And that's the thing about using the wrong tool. They use the wrong tool, detention, exclusion, yeah, the naughty step. Our kids love the naughty step, don't they? Yeah? You go, sit there, and they go, woo! Yeah? You need to learn. And they're going, I have learned. This is ace. I love the seclusion room. What? You mean if I punch him in the head, Mum's going to come and get me? Okay. I think they should bolt on another 6 months of school. That'll soon be tired of meeting people, wouldn't it? Well, not if they love school. They'll just keep hitting people. Yeah. And then, you know, again, imagine going back to the garage, right? You say, right, I'm taking my car. Well, I tried to get the sump off. But what we've done in Birmingham is we've done research, and we found that 51% of the cars in Birmingham use metric. Yeah. So what we've done in Birmingham is we've got rid of all the imperial tools. Okay. And I'm going, yeah, but mine's a really old car, so I need the imperial tool. Well, we haven't got those tools anymore. What we've done is we've used what we call evidence-based models Yeah, it's what you hear in school a lot. We use evidence-based, because it sounds really official, doesn't it? Evidence-based models. Yeah. Well, all that says is 51% of children learn a certain way. Well, if you're one of the 49, you're up the creek. Yeah. So what you're doing is you've used the wrong tool on my son. So that's it. What happens is he said, right, you can't have I used the wrong tool because we didn't have the right tool. I slipped, I cut my hand, and now we've got to call the police. Because we have zero tolerance in this garage. So imagine that, you'd say, right, well, you used the wrong tool on my car, you cut yourself because of your own stupidity, but my car's to blame. And in school, you give my son detention, he still hasn't learned, but my son's to blame. It's a bit misguided, that is, isn't it? And he needs to learn. Okay. That's when you get things like do as I say, things like homework. Because that's the problem. We've been brought up this way, and I'll come to just about us. I mean, you know, just briefly about how do we learn. See, I'm keeping an eye on the time, you're all right. So, my dad, bless him. No, actually not bless him, sorry. I don't do the Hollywood version of family, okay. I've looked back through my mind, he probably meant well, yeah. He did right by me, but yeah, he was over hard, let's put it that way.
Different generation.
It was, yeah. And that kind of worked to a point. And then, I don't mind, you can call out, that's all right. So my dad was very strict. So if we're looking at toolboxes, the problem with my dad was, he only had one tool, and that was a hammer. Yeah, discipline. And that worked with me. Now the thing is as well, this is when you get the flip here. Unless you have another reference, you think how you were raised was correct. Okay? Now, my wife, she was like this ultra hippie. Her parents were really laid back. They would let her do things, you know, they would let the kids go into their bedroom. And my dad had his own chair. And he'd come back from work and he'd go, get out, and you go, and you get out the chair, yeah? And he said jump and you said how high. I've been there and I've done, yeah. And yeah, some of you might go, that's the right way. That's how you teach respect. Can I tell you something? You don't teach respect like that. You teach fear. I'm going to quote Yoda now. Very scientific person, Yoda. Fear becomes hate. Yeah. And what I find really interesting with this is every generation then carries on the tradition of the over-excessiveness and then says, that's how you learn respect. No, you don't. Seriously, I can tell you, I didn't respect my old man at all. I actually started to hate him eventually because he never backed off. Yeah.
But did you love him?
Whatever love was.
Up to a point, and then it stopped because the hate kicked in and went, you know what? Me being blood, you're an arsehole. But that change occurred when I got older because I think it's very true. I think parents need to change. I think parents need to back off the parenting. So when I became an independent person, well, I'll talk about the change because it's kind of an interesting one. So my wife was this ultra hippie. Obviously, that's not my wife. Well, it could be, I suppose. You know, it might be my thing. I just do this for my mood. Everyone's looking now. What's she like? Although she has got white hair now. No, I'm so quick on the uptake. I work with behaviour, and I suddenly went, oh, your hair's and it's completely white. And she went, you just noticed. Although at work, I noticed there was a hand dryer in there, and I went, how long's that been in there? And I went from the beginning. I went, really? And they send me out to observe people. It's because I'm tuned in, I think, and I just don't see them. But okay, so the difficulty that occurred with me was when I met my wife had got 2 children from previous marriage. So this actually was when things started to fracture anyway, because my mom used to offer such gems as, they're not your kids. Yeah? So that was really going to help the relationship, wasn't it? So if you like, there was this constant battle all the time. Yeah? Because they were really little and they called me Dad, and my mum would go, don't tell them to call you that. So she got this real, it's really funny. I was watching The Sopranos on now, and I thought, oh my God, my mum's like Tony Soprano's mum. You have to watch The Sopranos to know what I'm on about. Yeah. Very sharp, you know. She hates it. Now I've got grandkids, and you see her sizzling when they go, Grandad, and she goes, although she don't, because we just, I know. Well, my wife misspent years. Yeah. We got
She's not here this day, that's why you said that.
I'm sorry, I get away. I know he's sticking it online now, so that'll go viral. So, okay, Christopher. This is Christopher. If I describe him as a car, okay, he's VW camper van, but he's modern, you see, so it's a modern one. So he's into IT. Now, Christopher, he's amazing. Christopher's 29, okay. He's great. Now, I only had the hammer, because this is what I'm trying to say. So when we got together, when I was about 18, and we were sort of living together in our 20s. So I'd bring the hammer, and I'd go, put that down now! And he'd drop it, and he'd cry, and I'd go, yes, this is parenting! It's my turn! Yeah? And that worked beautifully. Yeah? By the way, I'm describing a period in my life I detest. Okay? Just so you understand that. But this is the key thing. Okay, now Deanna, this is Deanna. Although when Christopher saw these, he said, I want to be the Ferrari. And I said, no, you don't want to be the Ferrari. It's not a compliment. So Deanna is a hothead. Deanna doesn't take crap from no one. She actually was the first time I got a problem. I'd go, put that down now, and she'd go, what are you going to do about it? And I went, ooh, I'm not used to this. What do I do? And then in my head, I could hear my dad, more hammer. So I'd bring more hammer. And she'd go, that ain't going to work. So I'd go, oh, more hammer, you know, Hulk, smash. By the time she got to end of secondary school, her room was a monastic cell. She lost everything. Yeah? The stuff I'd do, I was evil, seriously. The worst, I think the lowest point, by the way, I didn't know this as the lowest point. I hate me for this. I'd got her up the wall by the throat, going, why do you make me do this? Interesting, isn't it? See that poster? Yeah. I was doing, but my dad had done it. It's abuse. I was doing what my dad had done to me, but my dad was teaching me respect. I was teaching her respect. Do you see how it's flawed? But I'm too stupid, and I'm stupid to know, and I remember fighting which hand the knife and fork go in. And everything I detest, this is this part. This is why I hate people that talk like this now. Yeah. I remember knife and fork, she couldn't eat with them in the right hand, and I'd go, Deanna, I don't make the rules. This is what society says. This is how you eat your dinner. And I'd switch the knife and fork, and she'd switch back, and I'd go, no, you've got to learn to fit in. The world's not like that, Deanna. Bang, 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 I'd switch it. Right? Then Jay comes along. It's really interesting. Jay saved me. Seriously. He changed my life. I would have become a vile human being. And do you know what? I wouldn't have known it. I think there's plenty of people out there that are vile. And they think they're good parents, and they're not good parents. And what I'm trying to say is they keep passing this stuff down. But Jay came along, really interesting. So Jay, learning difficulties, autistic traits, dyspraxia. I always describe, before Jay was born, I lived in this bubble of what was normal. And then he was born with a pin between his feet, and it just burst. And when you've got dyspraxia, you struggle with fine motor. And suddenly this phrase started turning up in my head. Does it really matter? And so I started to change, and then I started to go, does it matter if you eat with your fork in the wrong hand? Actually, is there a right hand? Is there a correct version? And you know what? There isn't. some idiot along the line in history said this is the right way. Who said that? Why do we all buy into it? And I was just thankful he was eating his dinner. So what happened is when Jay came along, I started to change. Yeah? And I lived, and you hear this in a lot of training I do this phrase quite a lot, does it really matter? Do you know what? Half the things you think matter in life do not matter. They are not important. Anything, even things like school, are not that important in the grand scheme of things. Your kids are bright. They'll succeed anywhere down the line. You don't need school to get an education. You can go to a library. Now, and again, the other problem is you've been conditioned socially that that's the route through life. It's not. The kids now, they're learning more than at school on YouTube. You can learn everything on YouTube. Honestly, it's my go-to place. If I can't do something, somebody somewhere has done it, and you just watch it and pause it and sit. And my granddaughter, Jess, she learned her letters before she went to school because of YouTube. Amazing. And she's doing really well, but again, that's because she fits into that model. I will share this with you, right, because this is when it is kind of worrying. So Evie, Deanna's daughter, so Deanna's a hothead, right? It's interesting actually. Deanna has all the traits that you wouldn't want in a child, but you actually would want as an adult. Okay? She's brilliant. She takes rubbish from no one. She has you know, she's got a point. She really will fight your corner. She's ace. Yeah, but you just don't like that in a 6-year-old. But this is the problem. Her daughter's now the same. Yeah? The apple falling far from the tree. This is the bit I want to warn you about though, because this blew me. This only happened about 3 weeks ago. Evie went and told the teacher to do one. Right? What did my daughter do? She removed everything from her room like a monastic cell. Seriously, even though 6 months ago she said, yeah, you were over the top with me. Right, I'm over the top with you and you're just mimicking what I've just done. That's why the abusers, yeah, or the abused become the abuser. It's like somebody somewhere has got to go, no, I'm not going to do that. And the interesting thing is, her boyfriend has got a stepdad who I don't think he really likes, and the things I hear about him, he's not a nice person. So he's of that disciplined background, and she's got to learn. And I sit there when I listen to we fell out the other week, because I said to Deanna, I said, do not talk to your daughter like that. You are not a nice person. Because I just felt, I was like, and do you know what was even more terrifying? Oh my God, that was me 10 years ago. Oh God, that is bad. And it was really interesting. I gave her the yellow version of this book, and you know when you can, I bet our parents could do it. You know when you can hear the partner talking through your child. You'll get that eventually, yeah. I bet you did it. I bet you talk like your other half does. Yeah, I could hear her other half. No book's gonna help with this kid. That's what my daughter was saying, and I thought, that's him speaking. And I said, have you read it? Like I said, there's an A section on punishment. It's brilliant. I'll just give you, there's a quick thing in it, which is absolutely, adults learn through it. Basically, this is for over 15s. Adults over 15s learn through making mistakes. Children learn through succeeding. So children learn through winning. Yeah, we parent children through failure. We parent children based on what works with adults. So we punish. And you have to read the book to kind of get the grasp of that. But there's a brilliant thing in it as well. Punishment doesn't work because when you feel like you've been punished, it has no impact. So a learning experience only works if you believe it's fair. Think about it. The things that just shape your behaviour, if you think it's fair, then you learn from it. But if you think you're being punished for it, like I say, you're more, and actually in the book it says you're more likely to repeat the same mistake over and over again. Which, that's the problem is, it sounds soft, doesn't it?